Hey, everybody. My name is Chris, and with me is Mike. Mike, I don't know if you want to take it away and kind of give a little intro on what we've kind of created here with the Targeted Show.
So Chris and I have created the Targeted Show. I think basically the name speaks for itself. We've been targeted by the government for being pro-Trump, um, having businesses. I think uncovering corruption in a way that has been by accident or in a way that just made the other side, and by the other side, I mean the Democrats, come after us in a way, shape, or form. I don't know which other way to put it, other than that's the only common thread that we all seem to have in our group, right, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. And you and I have been obviously talking for at least a month or two, and we just kind of found each other, and then we found a lot of other people, and it's all different scenarios and different, medical field. You're in kind of the finance, docs, SEC. You've told me what you do, and it still goes way over my head, business wise. And all these people have a common, their families have just been destroyed. We've talked to wives whose husbands are in prison or facing prison, and vice versa. And you and I are looking down that same barrel. So we know how hard it is to get people's attention, especially in this world we're in now. And someone that has never been in a federal investigation before, it's a foreign language to them. And I mean, before 2020, it was a foreign language to me. Same for you. So
never even cared to even want to know about it because I was doing everything else, everything right by the book.
So we kind of had this idea to, this first episode is going to be you and I. We're going to talk about our stories, but then moving forward, we want to try and do, 2 to 3 episodes a week and get other people on who just don't have a voice. And I've learned a lot over the past 5 years dealing with this. My wife's away right now because we were both targeted, and I have little kids, and you're looking down a similar scenario for your wife being out and you going away, and then it's going to vice versa.
Yep.
Later this year for my wife coming home and me having to do that. So we just wanted to give opportunity to other people, because my wife and I have always had this motto in every business we've done, that we feel like community over competition. And I feel it can become stronger for everybody. And it's also, I'm assuming after this podcast, you and I, it's going to be like a therapy session. Hopefully we'll feel a little better. And that's what we want for other people too. So this is new, and we want other people even to reach out that see this. And we've set up an email at thetargetedshow@gmail.com. So if people do have compelling stories, especially dealing with lawfare or weaponized prosecution, just feeling targeted, reach out or find us. Mike set up us on X and Facebook, and there's like this will be on
Instagram, YouTube, Rumble.
So
anything else that I could try to help to do, because I'm the one that's a little bit technologically handicapped, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm the one running this, so if anything happens, don't hold it against me on this first episode. But I think I got it down for the most part. So yeah, we wanted to kind of get that out of the way and just let people know, like, if they want to come on, it's not going to be a drilling. We just want it to be a casual conversation, like, how this has affected your family, how this has affected, if you have kids, like everybody else, because people don't understand just the gravity that this can take a toll on a family. So, especially when you have proof or you didn't do anything wrong. So that's what I feel like, and Mike and I have talked, like, this is what this should be about, you know. So we can kind of just jump in, tell our stories, and people can get a feel on what this little show is going to be about. And hopefully bigger, higher up people will start to see it and get some kind of movement. Because, I mean, we can see the administration is partying people. And obviously, you know, there's talk about, you know, it's mostly a lot of political figures and celebrities, but there are every average day people in there. And I think Trump has seen that, and we're hoping that there's going to be more just for people like us. But we have to kind of join together and get that word
There's
out.
also, and I feel, and this was part of my motive to do this with you, Chris, was we tried to get our story to the bigger news outlets or the bigger level podcasters that became famous for their support for President Trump. And what are they doing to us? They're ignoring us. Right?
Yeah.
So they kind of forgot where they came from and what got them there, which was the regular guy that loved President Trump, but they were just somebody with a microphone that did it. You know, we loved President Trump, and I love President Trump, but I didn't have a microphone doing news about it and all that. But I felt the same way. Was that my career path? No, that was their career path. But now that they're famous over it, they don't give two craps about us. And that's kind of the norm that it's got us a little fed up to have to go this route.
Well, yeah, and I've always had the philosophy, if you can't get that exposure, like, just try and do it yourself. And I mean, I can not understand, but when President Trump is president, there is so much news. I mean, especially right now, and obviously a bunch of it is bullshit news against him. And it just clogs the airwaves, and people have agendas, and unfortunately we're not high up on the totem pole, but that doesn't mean we can't make a difference by joining together and trying to do something like this to make some headway for all of us. I mean, because there's, I think, what is there, like 42 people in that group that we've all just kind of organically met each other. And it's, like I said, all different avenues. There's a lot of people in medical that were just targeted for billing stuff. And some of the stories I've heard is just horrific, like prosecutor lies. So I would like to say that our cases are not the norm, but unfortunately, when you hear more stuff, they kind of are. And that's not to take away, because I want to make a point out of this, like, we still need the DOJ and prosecuting, especially what they're doing now under Trump. I mean, they are trying to clean up violent crime, like heavy drugs. I mean, the fentanyl, I'm friends with sheriffs that go undercover where I live, and fentanyl is just freaking crazy. So we're not like opposed to all AUSAs. Like they have a job and they have a purpose to clean up crime, but they need some kind of integrity, because I feel like sometimes they get led down a path where they might look into something and then they're already too far down that rabbit hole where it looks bad for them to drop a case. So they just continue to double down, and there's some catastrophic issues that happen to families with that. So
I feel like some AUSAs rather ruin somebody's life than lose their job.
Yeah. And
I can speak from example, and unfortunately,
I think a lot of us can. And we, like I said, we've talked to a lot of people. I mean, there's one wife, her husband, I think it was a financial crime, and I think it was like a little over $1 million, and I don't even know if it got paid back or not. I don't know the full details of it, but he got something like 17 years. So even my attorneys and my wife's attorney, like, she got 27 months, I got 35, and they're like, well, that's an easy one. That'll be done before you know it. And that's like telling someone, you got shot in the shoulder. It's not like you got shot in the lungs, and you're still getting shot, especially when you shouldn't even have been around the shooting range. If we're gonna like do an analogy here, and I know the same thing for you. Like, you're looking down a long barrel, and you kind of have a ticking clock coming. So I don't know if you want to kind of explain a little bit more. I mean, I know you had a sentencing date of March 10th. I don't know if you were able to get that pushed or not.
So now the judge decided that he wanted to charge the three of us at the same time. So he pushed it to April 15th.
Oh.
But we're looking down a barrel of 25 years. Anywhere the tens the bottom, supposedly.
Yeah.
And I know they're giving, because all my other competitors that pled changed their plea from not guilty to guilty after what happened to us. They've given them a cap of 10 years.
Yeah.
So they want to punish us for taking the fight longer, obviously. So it's unbelievable the amount of evidence that we've had against them. We've submitted paperwork to the DOJ. We've asked for a halt in the sentencing so they could do it, but it's almost like it's still going nowhere because, like I said, I'm a regular guy. It's nuts. It goes nowhere.
Yeah. So why don't you tell people, and just from experience of talking to you in the past, because I know you're in like the whole, was it private equity, SEC, like you're dealing with that. So try and say it like you're talking to a kindergartner, because that's how my brain works when.
Okay.
I mean, the only stock I've ever done is I had a Vanguard account for a little bit before the government wiped that out. That I just had on auto pay. So that whole world is foreign to me, and probably a lot of other people are going to watch this because they either don't have the money to do stocks like that or anything like that, or they just they have a guy.
So yeah, so my company was structured so the regular people were basically, it was open to them and they could learn about it, right? So they'd be able to invest smaller accounts. So what I had is I had a company called Straight Path Venture Partners. We were a fund, okay? So what happens is, let's say you worked at Airbnb and you've worked there, Chris, for 5 years, but you get paid maybe $50,000 a year. You live in San Francisco, which is at below the poverty line. I think they've said that, getting paid, yeah. And they're giving you, let's say, $3 million a year in stock. Let's say they're paying you in stock, and you can't do anything with it because the company's not going public. So what happens is the SEC created a rule that you could do a private stock transaction. That means you could sell it to entities like Straight Path Venture Partners. So you work at Palantir, and let's say over 5 years you want to buy a house, and you can liquidate. Let's say out of that you're allowed to sell like 20% of it. So you want to sell $600,000 of your $3 million. I'll buy it, right? President Trump, with Jay Clayton, the SEC chair, said, I want to be able for more mom and pop investors to buy shares of private pre-IPO companies.
Yeah.
That's when our business started blowing up because we were able to take $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, from regular people that were able to handle those little investments. And like, Chris, we changed a lot of lives. Like my landscaper in my house in New York he invested like 30,000. If he still has it today, it's probably like 800,000. I haven't spoken to him, but if he still has his shares today, he turned about $30,000 into probably 8 and change.
Yeah,
that's life-changing money for a guy like that. And there was so many people like that did invest in our fund that did make that type of money.
And then I mean, you've been on a bunch of podcasts and stuff, and I know you were on Silk or Diamond and Silk, and talked about the issues with what the prosecutor was saying about victims, what they claim, and then obviously the reality of the situation. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, we had over 2,200 customers. We had not one customer loss in the years that we've had it. They took the company, and that's the part that kind of like really, it's like the dagger at my heart that got turned, that I got stabbed and turned. It's when they took the company from us, they said we were a Ponzi-like scheme. Can't say Ponzi scheme because they know they'd be in a better trouble right now. Out of $486 million that we raised through customers or other brokerage firms that wanted to buy our product, they said we were short $14.6 million, which the numbers now we know is totally made up and fake. We've actually, now after the trial, we took the time to really get in there because they had taken our, we had no access to the files or anything because they took them from us. So post-trial, we delved in there and say there is no loss, no customer loss. So we said we're 14.6 million out of 486 million. The SEC has a rule that you're allowed to, you have a 1 to 5% margin of error. 1 to 5% it's like 3%. 14.6 was like 3% of the fund. Yeah. So first of all, we were within their margin of error. They had a gun to our head to take the company from us. And Judge Kaplan, Lewis Kaplan, appointed his own receiver who's generated $230 million in revenue after the fact. And where is the revenue if it's a Ponzi scheme? No Ponzi scheme generates revenue. It is a house of cards that is waiting to fall.
Well, isn't also, I mean, this is just the little knowledge I know, but even the traditional stock market goes up and down where people would lose $14 million in a day if they were heavy trading, with a lot of cash. So,
right.
I mean, wouldn't that be something similar?
Yes, but we use the stock market to get out. So like gotcha. The stock market was when these companies went public, after 6 months, we would receive our stock and then we would transition out of it.
Okay.
So there was no error there. We're not a brokerage firm or an investment advisor like they claimed we were. Our filings were as an exempt reporting advisor, and they charged us criminally as investment advisors, which were beyond wrong. It was just almost like, let me try to just see what I can get here.
Yeah, and I mean, you've told me multiple times, because we talk a lot, like, how's this been on your family? Like, I know it's wiped you guys.
Wiped me, shitty. I'm probably gonna, if I wait for 2 years for an appeal, I'm gonna lose this house. I'm gonna lose everything. I can't. And so it's not like I can get a job. I have to sit on my hands, and wait for the government to decide, or the judge to decide. And the judges have proven to be the most evil people in this country.
Oh yeah,
they've had an ulterior motive.
You see a lot of that now, even just not even on the topic of, weaponized lawfare or whatever you want to call our situations, but just in general what they're doing every time Trump tries to do anything. I mean, all these judges they just want to fight against them. So, and I know you're down in Florida and you're a big Trump supporter, as am I. I'm in California, so obviously we are a little far and few between. But we've read on the news a lot. I mean, a lot of people that are favorable for our president right now, like get targeted because the other side just does not like it. It's kind of baffling to me too, because I just remember 20 years ago, or maybe even longer, everyone kind of was sick of the government on both sides because they're like, we need a businessman running this country. We don't need politicians because nothing ever gets done. Nothing ever gets fixed. And then we finally get someone like that. And then the other side is just fighting tooth and nail to do whatever they can to lie about them and get them out. And it's like, this is what everybody wanted. Like, if the government were a business, it would have been bankrupt decades ago. I mean,
they want a politician they could bully, and that's the problem. They can't bully it.
Well, yeah, you'll hear a lot of ones on other podcasts, and and they run on platforms that they know they're never going to change, but that's just their hot topic to get voted every 2 years or every 4 years. So, yeah, it's if you're not in it, it's just hard for someone to tell. And I'm trying to give analogies to friends, and some of them understand, and some of them don't.
Right? Yeah. Because everybody's been indoctrinated. The government's there for you. And while they're supposed to be there for you, then they're secretly being POSs behind your back to figure out how they can steal from you.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah. That's like, look at you. Look at your stuff. I mean, your stuff's crazy too.
I mean, yeah. And just all the fraud going on, especially all the stuff Nick Shirley's like finding, like, it's just crazy. All that stuff's going on. And that's kind of what my wife and I were in the process of doing a TV show about government corruption and organized crime in Hawaii. And it was more an entertainment value. It had a fictional character, but it was surrounded by non-fictional events. Or wait, no, a non-fiction character surrounded by fictional events. And we did a lot of research. I mean, this was in the process late 2018, and then took a lot of headway in 2019, where we were, in development with a producer out of Warner Brothers and had the funding in place for, doing the project right before COVID hit. And, I'm a researcher. That's why I know almost too much than I want to know about the government and everything.
All right.
Damn dogs. That. Oh, I already locked ours away. So, but yeah, I mean, if and then COVID hit, and like I said, I'm a researcher, and I don't rush into things. And when COVID hit, like, we had multiple businesses. I grew up basically. I went to film school right out of high school. Went to AFI, made a movie in the early days, and it was right before 9/11. It went to the theaters, and it tanked. I mean, we were low budget, but still it tanked just because of the timing. And then you find out all the scummy people in Hollywood. I mean, we dealt with basically people forging documents saying they own the rights to get money from Hollywood, like loan sharks. Like, everything that happened to me back in 2001, 2002 on that project could be a movie in itself. So I had to get out. but I always loved the craft side of it. I hated the business side of it. And then, my wife and I met in 2006 and got married in 2008. And at that time, I had a pretty successful clothing line that sponsored the UFC. I had like 20 something fighters. I was really good friends with Chuck Liddell. I knew all those guys, Randy Couture, Dana White. I was at every fight back in those days. And then that kind of transitioned into I had some retail stores, and we were kind of copying the No Fear brand. No Fear had like 53 of their own stores, and I became really good friends with the No Fear owner. It's two brothers, they're twin brothers, Mark and Brian Simo, and we kind of came on board as a licensee store. So I've always owned my own businesses, and then No Fear unfortunately went bankrupt around 2011, 2012. So we regrouped. I've always loved cooking, so we started a catering business just to have full control over our lives and not have to worry about bigger people. And that just took off, especially when Trump came in 2016. Like it just skyrocketed to give us the ability to purchase a house, invest in that house, invest in more businesses. And my wife's a very smart writer. And so she kind of filled in the places that I was weak at writing. And then we started writing scripts and stuff again, and came up with this idea for Ohana about, the government corruption and organized crime in Hawaii, because it's crazy over there. I mean, it's Vegas. It's just not, it's not on the postcards. The prostitution and the drugs and the violent crime. And it just seemed like an entertaining type of show, but we wanted it to have some legitimacy. And it was nothing that was ever out there. I mean, you had the Hawaii 5-0s and the Magnum PIs, but those were very kind of call them like bubblegumish. They didn't get into the weeds of realistic stuff that was going on. Gritty. And then, like I said, COVID hit and the funding all went away. I reached out to all our local banks, and they're just like, we're not doing this program yet because we don't really know what it's about. And so at that time, I was just kind of waking up scared, turning on the Today Show, going like, what's happening? And, that's when they released the whole PPP thing. And I started listening to the Today Show saying, you can apply if you have a business, you have your tax ID, if it was done before whatever certain date, which we had for all of our businesses. But I didn't just apply right away. Like I reached out. I don't, even for our taxes, I don't get in the gray. I'm like white or black. And so I reached out, and one of the loan originators basically said, you have a budget for your show. Like you can use projections, which we had SBA loans in the past for our No Fear stores. And that's, you put together a 24-month, sometimes a 36-month projection, what your payroll is going to be, what your rent's going to be, what you think your income will be, so they can kind of run it through to see if it's a viable investment for the SBA, basically. So when they said that, it didn't really seem out of the norm, especially during COVID. That program was changing daily. So after I got that advice, I started applying for the businesses we had, and it got funded. So I'm like, okay, I guess I did everything correct. We got back in to getting Ohana made. We went over to Hawaii the summer of 2020, started scouting locations. Like we were in meetings daily on Zoom with pretty, not powerful, but people that were in the industry, like Ed Decter, who wrote something about Mary. He actually came in, helped rewrite. He was in a lot of meetings with producers at that time. And at that time, the show was a male lead, but everybody was looking for female leads. So we did rewrites to kind of change that, to hopefully get it to a studio and then start attracting talent. And we were working with another producer that who was doing actually a show with Kaylee Cuoco, said she'd probably be perfect for it. So, we in 2020 in October, we shot a teaser trailer for Ohana to kind of get, you do, this is part of the industry thing, but you do that to kind of get the talent, show the streamers like a Netflix or whatever, like, hey, this is what we're doing. if you're interested to pick it up for a 6-episode or 12-episode kind of situation. And that was all going great. Then 2021 hit, we had that done. And some of the producers were just not returning calls anymore, which we thought was kind of weird because they were super gung-ho on this project because it was just something never done before. And then May of 2021 came around and we got hit with a target letter. Woke up, all our accounts were empty. On that day, we were getting ready to actually go back to Hawaii, like I think a week from then, and start working on pre-production for the pilot, because we did have all that money basically was put into an account called Ohana for the payroll, and we were getting ready to go over there because I'm like, I don't want this money in my account. Like, I don't want to accidentally spend $1 more than I should. So the money that we thought we were allowed to take for our payroll was kept in our account. And then we also obviously paid for other things for Ohana from the business account that we had originally set up. But the majority of it went to a strict Ohana account where me and the other producer, he opened it. I didn't even have any checks for it. Like, he's the one that wrote all the checks for the teaser trailer we shot in October. And I mean, there was out of work people that were working on I think Magnum at the time and the NCIS that was filmed over there, that they were out of jobs. They were super thankful. It was a small crew, but like, they hadn't gotten paid in 6 or 9 months. So it had already helped. And then if this show would have gotten picked up after the pilot, depending on the streamer, like Amazon's usually pay the least, or Hulu, and then obviously Netflix, or even going to like a Paramount. I mean, it could have ranged anywhere between about 600, 700,000 an episode, up to, even if a CBS liked it, I mean, those are like 5 million an episode. And that would have just been all more money coming into Hawaii for jobs and just the economy alone. So yeah, we got the target letter May of 2021, and our kids actually had a play date at one of their friends' house, his dad's a personal injury attorney. He called the card for the target letter, or no, he didn't. He's like, I'm not going to call this card. Like, this is way above my pay grade. You don't want me. Like, I'll make some calls to get somebody that kind of deals with this criminal prosecution. So, and we didn't even know this was about PPP. We had no idea what this was. It was all out of left field. And then we met with the attorney in downtown in the city we live in, and she called it. And that's when we found out it was about PPP. And we're like, we thought we did everything correct. So that led
no warning shot, right?
Huh? Yeah. No
warning shot.
There was no warning. I mean, we've talked to a lot of other people though, and they've had their houses raided, like 40-something agents. I mean, I've talked to Roger Stone, and I mean, obviously he posts about a lot. Like, I think he said there was 40-something people that raid his house at 6 a.m. So I'm thankful that didn't happen.
For an old man.
Yeah. Because in that first year after we got the target letter, our attorneys that we were able to hire to respond to the subpoena, they're like, you just kind of got caught up in this net. They're obviously going after the PPP fraudsters, and there were some. I remember seeing them going, these guys are idiots. Like, they worked at Taco Bell and then they bought a Lambo. Like, come on. And the government should be going after people like that, but they need to do their due diligence. And kind of like, we've never, to this day, never sat down with the prosecutor for him to ask, hey, what happened? Like, there was no interview. There was nothing. And he didn't care when we even brought up stuff through our attorneys that we got an email basically saying we could use projections. He said, if you're going to speak that in court, I'm going to file more charges and charge my mom, who's 78 now, who had nothing to do with any of the businesses, like nothing day to day. So we had to plea after fighting it for 4 years and going through court-appointed attorneys because we couldn't afford those original attorneys that did the subpoena.
Because they took your money.
They took our money, and at that time we had our house in California we bought in 2017, and they put what's called a lis pendens, which I didn't even know. There's a lot of new words I didn't know before this, which is basically saying there's a lawsuit against the people that own the house. So basically, they're not allowed to refinance it, pull cash out, or sell it. And at that time, we had about $1 million plus in equity in the house in 2021, which we could have used to continue to have better attorneys, but we couldn't touch anything. And so we
they don't want you to.
No, they want
to control. They want to control. Same thing. They want to look. Think about it. The judge is paid by the government. The AUSA is paid by the government. Now they're going to put a lawyer to defend you that's paid by them too.
Yeah. Well, in Hawaii is different. They have a panel of attorneys because there's only one public defender. And every panel attorney that we got was, if you Google them, their day trade of, what they practice is personal injury.
Yep.
And I was just like, oh my God, like they're giving us a pediatrician or a dentist do triple bypass surgery. Like if you want to kind of dumb it down into like a relatable way. And they didn't do anything. Every time we asked them, hey, we've read that they were supposed to either charge us in 90 days or return the seized money. And they're like, well, you can fight that after the conviction if you want. And we're like, but this shouldn't just change everything. So every time we pushed, they would just ask the judge to be removed from the case. And that went on. And then finally, my father-in-law stepped up and paid 6 figures to have an attorney. But at that time, that's when it was just too late. I mean, we were four years almost in. And unfortunately, that attorney didn't tell us, but his wife was going through a major cancer treatment and he was just calling it in. Like I've told you on the phone, like it was like we hired him and I was excited. It's like I was getting ready to go see Bruce Willis in Die Hard. And then I saw Bruce Willis in one of his later films where he was just calling it in for money. So it was just everything like just stacked. And then I know you haven't gone to your sentencing yet, but like just a little rundown on that. And it was just for us, our sentencing hearing was on January 9th, 2025. Every federal building and courthouse in the US was closed except for Hawaii. And we were, from what I could see, the only ones in there. So they were rushing to just get this stamped and done before Trump took office. And at that hearing, everything that came out of that prosecutor's mouth was a lie. And I would be looking at my attorney going, why aren't you saying anything? And it struck me. He didn't know anything about our case. He just took the check and cashed it, which is what we talked to a lot of people, and that's pretty common. And I think it's just because a lot of you look at and I have a book coming out, like if you look at an attorney that you need for a situation like you or I have against the federal government, a lot of these attorneys, you look at their profiles and they're staggering great reviews and lots of win cases, but most of those are on the state level. And I think they all just know when it's a federal case, you can't win. So I'm just going to try and, like I said, like get you shot in the shoulder instead of the chest.
Yeah.
And it's at that hearing, I knew right then and there, I needed to get the court transcripts. And I thought about it in this way that a lot of people can relate to. It's like when you're on customer service for dealing with your cell phone company or Amazon and something's wrong and you're not getting anywhere with customer service and you're like, manager, I want to talk to a supervisor or whatever. Like that's how the thought in my head was before the judge even read my wife, Erin, and my sentence is I need to get this to Trump because he's seen this firsthand. He's witnessed. I mean, there's an interview with him and I did a commercial about it that I aired. Like, he says how these prosecutions are basically corrupt. And I mean, I know you've gone down the same path to try and get pardoned in your situation, and you've gotten creative too. And I know you're very vocal, so I don't know if like you want to share just your story on that.
This time last year, I was probably lost. I take January, February of 25. I was lost. Like, I'm like, this case is in June. We're going to court. Judge Jesse Furman, he stopped the first, I think, deportation from President Trump of Mahmoud Khalil. He was all Columbia University, anti-Israel, yada, yada, all that stuff. 2 days later, my court-appointed attorney calls me. She's like, I guess you saw what happened with Mahmoud Khalil, right? And I was like, yeah. Well, the AUSA is looking to use Mahmoud Khalil's power with Judge Furman and just maybe not even have you be at the case. They think they might want to denaturalize you and throw you out of the country. I was like, excuse me? That put me in a real dark hole, like a real bad. I didn't want to know from anybody. I thought my family was better off without me then, and this and that. And, it was like for like 2 months I was going through that. Like, I'm like almost like, get ready, like this might happen.
Yeah.
And by the end of March, we had a pretrial hearing for the June court case. And nobody knew I was doing this. I walked in and I go, you know what? I don't want you as my lawyer. That's it. I'm done. After what you did, and you did nothing about so I threw everybody threw a couple of wrenches in there, and it turned out to buy his case bought us time till October 20th. After I was able to do that, I said I couldn't waste time. I got on X. I became like a pest a little bit on X. Then by like June or July, I finally started getting headway. I found somebody that introduced me to Peter Tickton. God bless the man. Only lawyer that I think cares, honestly. Spoke to me and my wife for a half hour. Wanted to follow up with us and talk to us for another hour and a half or 2 hours on the phone. This guy's busy. You know what I mean? He's doing a lot. And then turns out that he wants to help me. I go, Peter, I don't have the money to pay you. Don't worry, Mike. Pay me when I get you done. Because all my stuff's still frozen. So my panic is have them put me during the appeal in jail, and my wife and kids, they make a move on all my stuff.
But yeah, which I mean,
right, and my wife and kids are defenseless against them, which I think is their ploy. Like I mean, you told me the nightmare of you, like when they were trying to auction your house.
Oh,
that's a crazy story. I mean, that's a nightmare. Like that's here. It's like ingrained in my brain.
Well, yeah, and I mean that situation is just it's a red flag after red flag, and I mean I've talked to different attorneys after the fact of it, and it's crazy because, like I said, they put a lis pendens on our property, and basically said they have a claim in it for whatever 4 years. And then a week before the sentencing, they said, you know what, we don't have a claim in this. So they pulled it out of the forfeiture order and it was gone. They just had, all the other stuff, obviously the funds that were there because they seized a bunch of money because it was still in that account. And then we actually paid back a bunch of money. So, I mean, our PPP loan was 1.3 and some change. And we paid back a little over 1.1 between the seizures and the amount paid back. But yeah, getting back to the house, they did that. And then they because we had filed bankruptcy in May of 2024 because we had all that equity and there's a way to do it. We didn't want to lose the house, but we're like, you can do a homestead exemption. So when you file bankruptcy you can have a certain amount if you own a property that you can keep after the bankruptcy. And so we would have gotten like 400,000 in a homestead to kind of restart. And out of that, it would have paid back that another, I think it was 189,200, roughly 200,000 towards the PPP, even though we were entitled to it because we had businesses. We just got the bad information from the loan originator saying we could use projections instead of historical. So we tried to, that's why we did the bankruptcy. And then the AUSA bullied his way against the bankruptcy trustees and made him pull the house out of there. So we would still be on the hook because I think he knew he was losing when we went to sentencing. Like there would be no loss. So I think I'm just speculating, but like that's what it kind of felt like because he didn't want the rest of the money paid back against the loan. But then 10 days after the sentencing, 4 days before my wife was supposed to self-surrender to the Marshal Services, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But 10 days after sentencing, one of my best friend basically since 7th grade, he's a very successful mortgage broker, always buys houses. I don't even know how many houses he has now. They're all rentals, but he's probably got 50 something homes. And he's like, well, I'll send I have a buyer that can go to the auctions and I have like $1 million. I'll try and buy the house. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. So I have text messages from him the day of. He's like, I unfortunately went for like 1.2. The bank ended up buying it back. But the weird thing is the buyer said that there was federal agents at the auction bidding on your house. And they bid up to roughly like 1.1. Like, well,
he wanted to keep it for himself.
It was more, I think everything I've looked at, it's almost like trying to profit for himself or for that district. I don't know. I mean, there's so many things I just don't know. But if
they
you're
get
looking
to whack it up, they get to whack up everything they seize, collect, and take.
Well, yeah, and that's I mean, that's another thing we've talked about. It's like a lot of these white collar kind of financial crimes have gone in overdrive. I think it started roughly 20 years ago. And it's because there's no money for the government in forfeiture against violent crimes or low-level drug dealers or sex crimes, all the other stuff that is basically destroying our country. And that's what Trump's fighting against right now. But if you look at the financial crimes, the government takes in over $1 billion a year in forfeiture. Like this, from taking people's homes or wiping out bank accounts. So when something doesn't make sense, I always tell people, look where the money's going. And I mean, that's just kind of what it felt like. But to get back on the sentencing,
still feels like.
Yeah. But to get back on the sentencing day, at least for us, the judge, I mean, he told us, he's like, you guys are not a threat to society. You know, this is a hard lesson. You know, during all this, my wife and I were able to rebuild a new business. We started in 2023 in the midst of all this chaos and mayhem. And I mean, we have a successful gym that has over 500 people now, which had no one when we took it over and bought it. And, you know, he recognized all that. He even recognized, and it's on the court transcripts, that we've made great efforts to pay back the restitution. And then he sentenced us, and he only my wife said she would go in first because she knows how aggressive I can be on trying to correct this. Like I making contacts and just, I have a creative way of trying to get our story out there. So she said she would go in first. And normally you get designated to a camp for this kind of a low level situation. He made her report to the Marshal Services in Fresno and gave her 14 days. So I took her to Fresno. to the marshal services, and they were kind of confused why she was there. They're like, no one's ever self-surrendered here. Like, you'd usually just go to your camp, or if you're coming here, you are basically being brought here by the police or something. So they didn't know what to do with her and put her in the Fresno County jail. And she called me a day after that in the morning, and she's like, I'm still in the holding cell. Like, I haven't slept for over 30 hours. They basically gave us a cup and you can get water out of the toilet to drink, and they're just throwing pieces of bread on the floor for us. Like, it's fucking crazy. And so I made some calls. I called a friend of mine that's a civil rights attorney. He made a call to the marshals, and we put pressure on them. And that's what people need to learn. You got to kind of put pressure on this, because if you don't, no one's going to change anything. And she was out of that within a half hour and into the area, like the main area of the jail. And then we put more pressure on and got her to her camp within, I think it was like it's like a little over 2 weeks, which you hear horror stories, people staying months in a county jail before they go to their designated facility. But we got her moved there fast, and then she finally got to her camp. The really crappy part is, if the judge would have given her 3 weeks instead of 2 weeks, she was actually designated to her camp 4 days after she self-surrendered. But it all just feels very intentional for harm. But the judge, I mean, he even said that we paid back the restitution, but a month after all the sentencing, we got a bill in the mail from the DOJ for the whole entire amount. We're like, what did you do with the money that was already paid back? Like, where did that money go? And I've been questioning it left and right. So yeah, they just want to harm with extreme force. And it's just, I don't know how these guys sleep at night.
Aaron's out now, right?
Sorta. So I was through all the BOP, I think, especially under the new administration for the new head of the BOP's Director Marshall. And I think he has very good intentions and he's trying to fix things, but I've listened to a lot of his interviews, and it's a hard task, because you're dealing with so many people and so many facilities that don't want to listen or just go off the old way. So I picked her up from her facility on February 17th, the day after our 18th anniversary, and took her to a halfway house that's still 5 hours away from our house. And we didn't know what was going to happen. We've heard stories where they might just say, you can go home because you don't need a program here, because we own our own business. She has a house. She has community ties. Like, halfway house is designed for the people, and she knows some of the people in there that have nothing and they need to rebuild. Like, they need that structure of getting a job, saving up money to buy a car, and then, being able to afford rent on an apartment or whatever. That's what the programming for a halfway house is intended for. But through all this, you hear this one word that I hear too much and I really hate it. It's called statute. Well, we can't send her home because the statute says, like, she can't go home until March 19th because she can only serve 10% of her sentence on home confinement. But then they threw us for another loop right after she checked in, and they're like, we don't know why they even sent you to this halfway house, because you're too far away from your house. You might have to actually just stay here until your sentence is over, which would be in June. So she wouldn't even be able to have home confinement option. And that pissed me off. And when I get annoyed, I don't get angry, I get creative. And like I said, I know too much, and I've done too much research and watched too much stuff about this whole world. And when Todd Chrisley and his wife got pardoned last year, he kind of made it a point, like, he wants to help people. So he actually had Director Marshall on a podcast, and I listened to it again, and I said, okay, like whatever, everything Marshall is saying, like people aren't a number, they're a person. We want to get them home as soon as possible. They have family. This is, we're not here to punish, we're here to rehabilitate, which is still an issue, I think, within the BOP, because I think a lot of people working there think of it as a punishment. And I kind of get it a little bit, especially the hard criminals. But even as Todd Chrisley says, like, people that go to a camp don't need to go to a camp. They can do it on home confinement. So I saw that interview, and you know me, I've made a lot of different 30-second spots. I hate calling them commercials because I'm not trying to advertise. I'm trying to advocate. And I took a lot of the words that Director Marshall said in that interview and just put it in the spot. And then at the end, there was a screen with my wife's BOP number and, kind of some wording on what was happening to her, and ran that in Washington, D.C., ran it in Texas by the DSCC, which they're the ones that calculate all the times for the BOP. And then also ran it where Marshall, the city where Marshall's from before he moved to Washington. And then also ran it where Todd Christie lives now. And then I put it on X also and tagged a lot of people, including Todd and Director Marshall. I don't even think it was 20 minutes went by and I got Todd replied to it.
That's awesome.
And then said, send me a message. So I went into the DMs on X, and he had already written me on there. So we had been talking on there, and I gave him all the information that was going on just with Aaron, and then obviously the bigger picture of our whole case. And he obviously has a lot more connections within the BOP. So he sent all that to Director Marshall, and I believe, from what I understand, what Todd wrote me, then Marshall sent it to the Assistant Director, Rick Stover. And Rick actually called Erin last Friday on her cell phone in the halfway house and talked to her, which doesn't happen unless you can get creative. That's why I want to tell a lot of people, you need to get creative and push, but don't push in a cynical or evil way. Like, still be respectful, but you have to make a little bit of noise to get seen, because there's so many people out there. So Rick Strover called Aaron and talked about a multitude of things, but mostly it was just a concern that when that March 19th date hits, can't come home to see her kids. She hasn't seen them in over a year because the camp, Victorville, wouldn't approve me to take them to see her. And after picking her up, I don't know if I really would have wanted taken her. I mean, even though she was at a camp and didn't have walls, and she's like, oh, I would take the gator over here and over there. But like, you're driving by 2 medium security facilities with razor wires. And then there's a UPS facility, or whatever it's called, UPC. Like, that's like the guard towers with the guns. And their walls are like cement 30 feet tall. Like, it is fucking crazy. Like a whole different world that none of us have seen before. So he is trying to work right now. He's told her, give him a couple weeks to get her what is called, and a lot of people don't know about this, it's called FLM. It's called Federal Location Monitoring. And basically what that is, you're not being monitored by the halfway house where you're supposed to go check in twice a week. You actually get monitored by pretrial services, which you and I are familiar with.
Oh, God.
There's a special pretrial services officer. And actually, we know the one in our area that does all the federal location monitoring, because he's the one that told us about it to begin with, saying you guys are perfect candidates for it because this is kind of what it's intended for. So Rick Strover said give him a couple weeks to try and get her placed onto that, so then she can come home on the 19th. But like I've told people, like I told my in-laws the other day, I gave them that story, and they're like, Jesus, like you are working your ass off. I'm like, I get up at 5 every day and I do a lot of work on the computer for our business. And then I take the kids to school, make them lunch, do that. But I literally, from even before Aaron left last year, I had to think of this as a second business.
It
Like,
is.
in the morning, and that's all you kind of have to think about while you're running your other business and raising 2 little kids as a pseudo single dad. So that's like, for people listening to this and people that want to be on this show, like, you have to have that mentality, like, because there's, like, you and I know, there's 20,000 people trying to get a pardon, and there's about 2,000 that we've heard that are actually at the White House right now, like sitting on desks, getting reviewed and vetted and whatever strenuous process they go through. So you have to basically advocate for yourself as much as possible to get seen. And I think that's what I fucking hate when I hear, especially the main media, when people do get pardoned, they try and bash Trump, or they say people are paying lobbyists for pardons, or Trump's getting paid for pardons, blah, blah, blah. And it's all bullshit. Those people are getting to that situation because a few things. Either they know people within the administration, so they're able to get seen. They're just using contacts, which everybody does in business world.
So we have to become famous doing this to help everybody. I've always said it. If we were famous, it would have taken our case and forgiven us right away.
Yeah, you basically have to advertise for yourself. And that's the approach I took. I mean, just to get into a little more detail on my journey for trying to get a pardon, it was early on. I was just like, I don't know anybody in the political world. In California, you can't reach out to your congressman because they're all a bunch of dipshits because they're blue. So I had to get creative, and I just started looking up people that have connections with Trump. How can I contact them? Obviously, trying to go on X and stuff it's a battle because there's just so much chatter, and even through emails. And then so I started just sending out like USPS priority letters. But then I came across this website called Cameo. Roger's probably gonna hate me, either that or he's just gonna start blocking people. But I saw Roger Stone on Cameo. Like, if I wanted to have Roger Stone say happy birthday, Mike, good, blah, 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 that's what Cameo is intended for. It's kind of more silly-ish, lighthearted stuff. But I wrote him and I said, this is what's going on. I don't have political connections. We're basically an average conservative family. And Roger first declined the Cameo, didn't want the money for it, didn't do a video for it, and then basically DM'd me his cell phone number. And he said, let's talk. And then we started texting. I gave him a call. I didn't answer, but we started texting. And I don't think I've told people this story. For the first couple months we were texting, I'm like, is this a scammer? Because I would try and call, and then nothing would happen. And then we'd just be kind of texting. And then I was like, just your doubt with everything going on, especially when you're going through a situation like this. You're like, you don't know if this is real or not. Is this someone pretending to be Roger? And it's just my own doubt. It had nothing to do with what Roger was doing. But I kind of sent him everything about it, and he was shocked. Like, he genuinely said, this is shocking what they did to your family. He's like, I want to help. So he wrote an article about everything in April of 2025. And then in June, it was June of 2025, he had me on his radio program to talk about it. And all that stuff can be found online. And it was nice to do that, because for people that know me, when people ask about the situation, now my buddy can just send them the link, here. And it gave us some kind of credibility, this is something major that happened to us. But my mind still was thinking, how do we push further? And that's Alice Marie Johnson had become the pardon czar, which is great for everybody, because she's seen it firsthand. She's seen how trying to get a pardon through the traditional DOJ. I mean, she got denied. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 times when Obama was president. But then when Kim Kardashian saw
I think
her,
the first 2 times Obama didn't even care.
yeah. So, but then Kim Kardashian saw an interview of her and kind of lent the microphone of her voice, and that's how it literally got to Trump. So I'm like, okay, like I'm to this day still happy Alice is where she's at because she has firsthand knowledge. So I am creative, and in July of 2025, I'm like, I'm not going to put, I want to do a billboard. And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it in DC because there's so much stuff there. She'll never see it. So I actually put it around where her house is in Mississippi, even though I knew she wasn't there because she's in DC. But I know she has family there. And then I put out a press release about it. And she found out about it. And I received a phone call and basically said she's aware of our case, to please email her everything, like basically a pardon packet or a clemency packet. And I had been working on one that was very thorough, very in-depth, that had, it wasn't just claiming all the prosecutors' misconduct and lies and everything that they did, coercion and Brady law violations. Like, it was backed up with actual documentation.
So let me ask something. What do you think is a holdup still? Because you're still not there.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I've
done a lot of research, and I don't know if, you know, she sent it off to the White House and it's being vetted, or if it's kind of on a stack where there's nobody that's been pardoned for PPP.
That still shouldn't be an excuse because.
Yeah, I know, but we're in the political world now, so I don't know if it's something to do with that.
Nobody has to like, oh, this wasn't done for people. You've done what I've done via Peter. Peter handed the letter to President Trump, so it's like according to everything, we've bypassed by going right to Alice anything and everything else.
Yeah,
she has supposedly the right to walk in there and hand it to him, and he'll just sign it. So I don't know, because this is the frustrating part.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's frustrating to you. It's frustrating to me seeing dead people get pardoned.
Yeah, I get your frustration on that, and I don't know if she has. I think she's more under a review party, so she reviews it, and then it's got to go to White House counsel and Susie Wells, and that's where it's being held up for a lot of people. I don't know, and I don't want to speculate because that's above my pay grade. Like I know the White House is dealing with so much shit.
They are.
So I don't want to
stack. This department's supposed to just do this.
Yeah.
And somebody else is disregarding her and not getting the information properly done, or sitting on it so she doesn't give it back to President Trump, because maybe there's a lot of bad actors around him that we don't know, that are just trying to do whatever they can to maybe hide their crimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if you pardon a bunch of people that did nothing wrong, somebody else is going to come in the fire sooner or later, right?
Yeah. Like honestly, right. I don't know, and we've been trying to figure it out.
The seditious 6 on January 6th didn't get punished; they just wiped it under the rug.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, you could go crazy trying to figure it out, and unfortunately, there's just not a lot of information. We just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And like, I mean, I know we did find out there's probably about 2,000 people's packets at the White House, and that there's only so many people vetting it, and I don't know what that vetting process looks like. So I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, I wish I did, And I kind of,
I wish there was a way for me to turn into a fly and show up there.
We need to keep, and it's not just about you and I, but like we just need to keep everybody in the forefront to not get forgotten. And that's, I mean, that kind of leads us to kind of what brought us a little more attention when we had the idea to join with all these other families, and we did a video and a website called familieslawfare.com, and it has info about that. And I like cutting and editing videos, and like I said, I've been creative in trying to get exposure just to get our stories seen. And even before the Families of Lawfare stuff around Thanksgiving, I was able to save up a little more money, and I put up a billboard by Mar-a-Lago on Trump's route between Mar-a-Lago and the airport there, and then started running commercials in Mar-a-Lago and DC. And I feel like it's a really easy way to do stuff, and I like doing it. I like helping. So I remember just reading in this chat group that we're in with all these families, and I kind of was silent. I just kind of was taking it all in. And that's when the kind of community over competition sparked in my head, which is what Aaron and I have always kind of felt. And I reached out to everybody, and I think it was like, I don't remember, 8 or 10 people were interested, and we did the video together. And I didn't reach out. I know a lot of people, God's been very helpful in senses of our life, at least for our new business. So, I mean, we're not as financial off as we were before COVID, but we're getting there. And I didn't want to reach out to anybody in that video saying, "Hey, can you help pitch in? Because I'm going to buy ad space." It didn't even cross my mind. I'm like, this is something I just feel compelled to do. So, I ran that ad nationally on like Fox News, Fox Nation, what's it? OANN?
OANN, yeah.
Yeah. And then what's that other one you told me about? I'm horrible with all these acronyms. The R.
Rav, Lindell, I think Rav, Real America's Voice.
Yeah. So I was able to do it on all of those. And then
there's a ton popping up left and right.
Yeah, and then we had people, even though there's 40-something people in that group, and I don't even think 10 people was reposting the video and trying to tag people of importance. And I'm not annoyed about it. I'm just you don't know what they are mentally going through right now. I mean, this going through and being dragged through the mud, or your husband dragged through the mud, and having kids or whatever, everyone has their own path or toll that they're on to try and just survive. I've always tried to be positive, even though there's a lot of negativity just in the world, the world we live in. But when you're going through a federal prosecution, it's a toll. I mean, I don't know how you did it with your children, but Aaron and I our kids didn't know anything about our whole prosecution until we had to tell them she was leaving in 2 weeks.
We didn't tell them really till I had to go to court.
Yeah.
Because I had to go to New York I had to be in New York for two and a half.
Well, we had to
open-ended.
Yeah. I mean, we had to
not know if it's going to be 2 weeks or 4 weeks or what, right? So where's that, right? So it's like, we talked to them like right before that. Financially it's been rough. So they're starting to, they see that obviously too.
But I mean, I feel like we did a good job. And even this past year, I want to say I did a good job, or as best as I could. I mean, our oldest son is suffering from a new anxiety just because his mom's gone, and he was the happiest, most just innocent kid. And I've still gone out of my way, and thank God that I'm able to I take them to Disneyland. I think they've been to Disneyland 4 times in a year. in like Universal Studios. And actually, when I got the call about Alice Marie Johnson, I was at SeaWorld with the kids. And I didn't answer it the first day because it said, my stupid phone said spam risk, because you have those filters on it. Because I'm sure you're the same way as me. You get a call every day if someone wanted to give you business funding or a free cruise somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
well, the good thing is hopefully she'll be home soon and you can start repairing that.
yeah. And I talked, luckily at the halfway house, she has her cell phone now. And she's able to talk anytime, because the BOP communication system is so archaic. It's not even funny. Like, even when Erin was in the Fresno facility, and this is just kind of more informational for people, like she was able to get a tablet, watch movies on it. I was able to put money on her account, stuff like that. She could text message and I would get it instantly, phone calls instantly. The BOP, when she would send me a message through their system, if she sent it at 8 in the morning, I would get it at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then when I wrote her back, say at 10 o'clock, she would get it at noon. So it's literally an hour and a half to 2 hour transitional period, because they have to, 40 years ago, drug dealers were communicating in the system on continuing their crime empires, and their statute is kept it like in that review. They have not updated their systems to, especially with AI now. Like, I'm sure they could implement AI to do a quick fact check to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate going on, and either say it's been rejected or redacted, and then send it through instantly. Not, they say they're trying to help keep community ties, and it almost feels like it's backwards.
Somebody's getting this. Somebody's getting this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they're not changing it.
Yeah.
Or the money got paid to change it, but they didn't change it, and the money went.
Yeah,
make
that's
sure
also
they're going to the jails next.
Well, yeah, because if you do more research, like all the uniforms in the BOP are, it's Bob Barker. Like, Bob Barker's family is the government contractor to provide all the BOP uniforms. So there's money. It points back to money again. So, yeah, it's we're waiting for her to get home, and I know she wants to get home. I was a little disappointed that I was picking her up and taking her to a halfway house instead of like completing the journey I was on and getting her a pardon, or us a pardon, to just take her home and this nightmare is over with. But I know it's a process. I know there's so much going on, and like I said, I have that doubt in the back of my head that anything with those 3 letters of PPP is just considered a scarlet letter. I don't know. Even though, like I said, when we found out we got bad information, we wanted to make sure it was paid back, because we're not those type of people.
The government should issue corrective action, just like they did with me. The SEC has to give you corrective action to fix things if it's a quote unquote a mistake. The past 4 years, they didn't issue corrective action. They figured out how to steal your life from you.
Yeah.
Because you don't matter, because you're just a regular guy.
We're just collateral damage.
Right.
Pretty much. Which,
right.
It's
for what?
it's
For
really,
believing in capitalism versus communism, really.
Yeah, and that's one of the kind of annoying things the judge did say during our sentencing, because he's not a businessman. So he basically said, if you would have just spent the money on crap, but he basically said, you guys tried to profit off of the funds. I'm like, well, no, we just did what any businessman, like if someone gives you $50,000, one person's going to spend it on crap. But an entrepreneur will say, okay, we're in a crisis here. We don't know what the world's going to be going through the next 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever. How do I turn this 50 grand into make more money to provide for my family, because I don't want to be a Democrat and rely on handouts, little breadcrumbs. We think like Republicans, where, like you said, capitalism. Like, I don't want to take handouts from the government. If we're getting that funds, I want to basically provide for people that it was intended to, for payroll for the movie, but then also I don't want to rely on trying to get more funds later on. And we never even applied for the forgiveness. And I have a buddy of mine, the guy that's the mortgage broker. I was talking to him the other day, and he's like, do you know how many people fib like on a loan application? Like, even when you go to a car dealership and they ask you, what do you make? And you're like, I don't know, like, especially if you're self-employed, like maybe 10 grand, 12 grand a month. They're like, oh, we'll just put like 13. Like, so you're listening to them. And we didn't even do that. Our numbers were hard numbers from a budget, and we were told we could do it that way. So, I mean, and then you look at some of these other, because obviously I did a lot of deep diving on PPP, and, you know, there's other husband and wives that I think they tried to get $6 million, and they put out dozens and dozens of applications, and they ended up getting, I think, 3 or 4. And I don't know the whole, obviously you can only find so much on the internet, so I don't know if they even paid it back or whatever, but that judge gave the wife time served where she never spent a day in jail or prison anyways, and then gave the husband a year and a day sentence. So he's basically would only spend about 3 months and he's done. But
so Aaron take care of, or what was his party affiliation? Unfortunately, that's something that we have to think about now.
Well, it's also different states, because even Aaron's attorney made lots of comments to her about how the judge was first mad at us because he thought one of us should have self-surrendered before our sentencing and gone over to Hawaii to the detention center, where if Aaron would have gone, there was at least 3 or 4 guards there that were indicted for rape, and she's a very pretty blonde girl over in Hawaii, where she would probably be a minority in that detention center. And then the guys are getting killed. So, and everyone we've talked to is like, we've never even heard of that before. Like, like the judges don't do that. Like, and then our Aaron's attorney actually ended up retiring 4 days after our sentencing hearing, and he wasn't old. So it's just a bizarre scenario. And he made comments to Aaron how Hawaii doesn't have a lot of financial crime. It's all violent, rape, drugs, that kind of stuff. So they're not going to treat it like every other district. They're going to make an example out of you. And that's literally what the judge did. He said, the reason I'm sentencing you guys is for deterrence. Which I talked to another friend of mine. He's like, so he's trying to deter other people from applying for a loan program that doesn't even exist anymore.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nope.
So, yeah.
I think from hearing your story again, they looked you down, up and down. They figured out your beliefs. Then maybe with your show you had maybe opened the wound up that he was somewhat connected to or something. And then they found a way to say, because the less that they have on you, the more they throw at you.
Oh, yeah. And the harder they push. It's from what I've talked to a lot of other people. And yeah, I mean, the same thing they did to me, they've done to you. And I think you hear this phrase, it's called low hanging fruit. If they know they can bankrupt you or take everything away, it's an easy win. And one of the other annoying things that Aaron's attorney said during the plea hearing, we had a little recess break, and he comes out, he's like, the prosecutor is so happy right now. He didn't think this was ever going to happen. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, why are we making him happy? Like, usually in a plea or in any kind of business negotiation, if it's a fair negotiation, neither side is happy. That's called a railroading, when one side is happy and the other side is not. So it's just a crazy situation to be in, and I know you're in it too, and that's why we want to kind of continue doing this show and getting more and more people on. And obviously all the other episodes are going to be more about them, and then just kind of yours and I's experience to help them just navigate.
This is the dry run.
Yeah,
we should make a commercial. I was thinking, like in between the show. Yeah, this show's brought to you by the Democrats. You brought more Republicans together than you ever thought.
Yeah,
something we got. It's unbelievable, right? Maybe maybe like an FJB commercial also. Thanks, Joe, for bringing this all together. Like a We Are the World in the background playing. We're all wearing Trump hats.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Actually, we have a little bit. I got to get my kids in like 10 minutes, but like, we all watched the State of the Union, and I feel like Trump was perfect. Like he and I know you went to a viewing party for it. I was just at home, but I mean, just the way he set them up, because he knew exactly how they were going to react to things, it just made them look evil. Yep. Like when they wouldn't stand for, especially the one for the Ukrainian girl that got stabbed on the subway. Was that in like South Carolina or North Carolina?
Why did they not stand up? It's a human being.
I just remember seeing that on the news like right after it happened, and I was just like, that was somebody's future wife. That was somebody's future mom. She's she looked like my wife when she was in her 20s, like cute blonde girl. And it really hit me hard on that one. Like I was literally in tears just seeing that, because I'm like, she was trying to just get a better life, and it's just taken away. And these people can't recognize that because they just have this hatred for Trump, even though he's literally doing good things every day. And the things we hear about him doing, like Rod Blagojevich, I've talked to him a few times on the phone and we text and stuff. Like, he's like, Trump is the most compassionate person you will ever meet. Like this media against him is so bizarre. It's just, I don't understand it.
Because of money. And they've been openly, either the money's been winding up and he's stopping it. He's a fear to them to stop it. Peter Tickton says the same thing about him. He goes, I gave him a list of 10 names. I remember the email. I gave him a list of 10 names. And with none of us knowing that Venezuela was going on at that given moment, and he was catering to 10 billionaires that are investing into the country. He took 5 minutes to talk to me.
Yeah.
He could say, call me next week, or he put everything aside for 5 minutes. Let him speak and moved on. That's it.
No, I think when you find those people, like I said, Roger Stone, like you read stories about him, and he's like, I don't know if he calls himself this but like a political hitman, basically. Like, and you and I have seen him on X, and he'll go after people, but everything. And I've told you this, and I've told a couple other people. Everything, when I've talked to him or text with him, he is one of the most genuinely nice people I've probably ever met. Like, he seriously wanted to help.
Roger?
Yeah, Roger.
I haven't had that side of it.
I got my Stone shirt on. I got a couple of these, but and then even the same thing with
pure coincidence, by the way. You'll get your Stone. I got my Trump. Pure coincidence.
And even I've been talking with another guy that is friends with Roger, and he's big in this world, is Michael Caputo. And Michael, he is the real deal. He is also one of the nicest people
Nicest.
I've ever met.
Oh my God, he's
And
an angel.
I mean, we were
He's
kind
been
of
through a lot.
he's been through a lot. But we were playing phone tag on Friday, and then he like steps aside and calls me while he's out to dinner with his family for a few minutes because he just wanted to make sure like he knew I knew that he wasn't like didn't forget about me. And that's rare. Like, and I think that's I feel like the left just tries to generalize or just make it seem like everybody on the right is evil, but they're not. Like, they are genuinely nice people that don't want anything. They don't want money from me. They want to help. They've seen what this has done. I mean, Caputo has reposted a few of the things I've put on X, and I mean, he's got JD Vance following him. Like, it's helping.
Caputo's got 90 something, 85 or 90,000 followers. I liked when he reposted your video. When he reposted your video, no, I'll take it. When he reposted your video, I ran and I commented below it, and he engaged me via DM.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we've spoken on the phone for like 45 minutes, and he's like, I know who you guys are. I know what you guys are going through. Like, you know, I mean, you're fighting your own battle because he's sick. God bless him. You know, I keep him in my prayers now after meeting him. But, you know, he's there. You know, I'm trying to. So my sentencing got changed to April 15th because of they want to charge the three of us together instead of separately.
Yeah.
So he said, because the judge changed it, he's going to call his lawyer to see if I could push it out. You know, because he wants to make sure he's got the right information because I got court appointed. My court appointed already said no, obviously, because he barely knows how to get through the courthouse.
Yeah. Probably doesn't even know your last name.
Yeah, probably doesn't. You're right.
So yeah, like, we're kind of deep in it, and I feel like every week it's one step closer to meeting new people. I know Silk really likes you. I saw she reposted your thing again last night.
No, she did.
Yeah, I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I'm like, oh, there's the video of the two, like the two shot. And I saw she reposted it. I think she likes you more. I think she likes you more than me because I talk too much on it, and I made her run long.
No. Oh yeah, you're right. 71,000 views.
Yeah.
And God bless. You know what? God bless that woman.
Yeah,
God bless that woman, man. I've been watching her. She's loved President Trump. Like, I saw her on CNN, right? So for me, that was a double-edged sword for me. I was like, I know that she could help us move ahead. But I've also been a fan of her because I love how she is on TV. When I've seen her on like CNN everywhere.
Oh, she's got great personality.
And then all of a sudden, by pure coincidence, I found out that she had the show on Lindell TV. So I just started emailing galore. The same thing I've done everywhere else, and because it's like she is just like President Trump's embraced her, and she says he's a kind man. She is passing the kindness on to us because she wants us to get the help we want and need as well.
Yeah, and she wants to help all of us. Like, you and I have been emailing with them privately, and she wanted to, after my interview with her, she wanted everybody's name that was in that video. And I mean, we don't know what she's doing behind the scenes. Obviously, she does have a very major show that she's working on, and there's a lot of stuff in the news. But I mean, that's just another, hopefully, outlet just to get everybody.
We have to become like tea leaf readers, right? So it's almost like, okay, maybe she reached out to somebody. That's why it's fit the profile, right? Because if it leads to me, it's going to lead to you, and it's going to lead to everybody else. Because it's not like, oh, I'm good. See you guys later. No, we want, you and I are all about, and this is what led us to this. We're all about helping these people, right? It's not hard to get on somebody else's podcast, but he's going to have 10 other guests. But if this is the norm every day of us discussing these government injustices, somebody's bound to see one that's gonna trickle down to all of us.
Well, yeah, like I've heard, I mean, like I said, we've talked to a few other people, and like there's one lady, her husband, I think it's like 17 years or so, and he's in there and they're older. And I mean, honestly, like if I was in the Oval Office and President Trump said, hey, I'm going to either pardon you or I'll pardon her husband, like I honestly would say her husband needs to get home. Like he's sick, he's older, he's already been through the fucking ringer. Like I don't mind taking that bullet because that's just how I am. Like, and I know I don't want to go to prison, but
like I said before, right?
Some of these people in their situations, and you read their stories, and you and I try and vet everybody as much as we can possible. I'm pretty good at reading DOJ press releases and reading through the
worse they are, the better the person is.
Yeah. So everybody that we want to have on here, we've obviously vetted, and we want to make sure like they were of lawfare or weaponization. That doesn't mean that, I mean, my wife has met some people that generally fucked up and did something wrong. And it could have been, and some of them are, it's just because of their upbringing, you know? These are people that grew up very poor and got into, a job where they could embezzle, and they just their eyes, they got wide open, and they were able to get some money. It happens left and right, and people do make bad choices and mistakes. But there's also people that are railroaded to make it look like they are those same people that need help. And I think that's what this show's trying to be about. So like I said at the beginning, like anybody watching this, if you're in that kind of situation, like look up, what's the handle on X? It's just the
Targeted Show.
And then even it's the same on Facebook and all the other ones, right?
Yep, same on Facebook, same on that's our email, targetedshow@gmail.com. You want to email us your story so nobody sees you on X? We promise, we're gonna do it because we're in it, and it's not something that we're just looking to have 20 million viewers and make this a living, even though that would be beautiful because I need it.
Yeah.
This is more about right now, all of us banding together to fight for people like us. And we've developed a little community, and I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of more like us.
Oh, I guarantee you, especially the families. So that's the main goal. The money, I mean, I don't really care about. I mean, even when I was on Roger Stone, he asked me if I had like a GoFundMe or stuff. I'm like, I don't need. This was never about
people ask me, and I get embarrassed to say it.
Yeah, I don't care about that. Like money has never been my driving force, and I've seen people, even friends, that's their main goal, and they'll screw relationships over and all sorts of things, and that's just never. It's never. That's why I probably hated Hollywood. So, because they'll backstab you and just whatever. So,
we could have, that's a whole other one, but
yeah.
we need a couple of beers for that one because I can talk about.
I stopped drinking. I've actually lost. I just weighed myself today. I've lost 90 pounds in a year.
God bless.
Yeah, but I've been trying to. It's not from stress, so people know. But yeah, I got to get my kids now, so let's sign off, and then we should be back in a couple days. With our first real guest.
Ron's going to be our first guest.
It won't be about us. We'll chime in here and there, but we want other people to share their stories. And yeah, I mean, God bless everybody, and we'll see you. We'll see you soon. I'll talk to you later.
God bless you all.